From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's show, I have Todd Jones with me with his regular copywriting segment, and we're going to talk about his brand clarity stack. Sit back, relax, enjoy this. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I have Mr. Todd Jones with me. Hey Todd, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. It's a Friday, so not bad.
Yeah, I know. It's been one of those weeks. So goodbye, good riddance. Yeah. Long weekend is here, so I'm good. Today we were gonna talk about your new clarity stack. So how did this come about being and why?
Well, I tell you, and actually, I've got this article I wrote about it, the kind of the backstory, which I'll leave the link with you to share with the users. But really, it started, I'm trying to teach myself to use AI more and more, and I'm like, well, can I create prompts, right? What is that like? Can I create prompts? I mean, you and I and others, we kind of mess around with it until it, do this or do that, and we kind of massage it a little bit. But like, can I actually create a prompt? And so it set out with me. It's like, well, maybe I can create a prompt for assembling an about page. Help people write better, assemble a better about page, whatever. And so I tried to do a prompt, and in the process, I've kind of solidified my about page framework, the 6 Ps. I think we've talked about that on the show, and I put it out in a a community for community consultants that I'm in, and I had a couple people. In fact, one lady pinged me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I downloaded your." I think we connected, and she said, "I just want to let you know that I downloaded your about page prompt thing, and it was really, really helpful. Kind of helped me clarify some things." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's different." I mean, it's not just an about page. And then I started playing around with this idea that about page is more than an about page. It's the forgotten page. It's the one that people either just kind of throw together at the end, or they don't. Heck, I've seen a lot of companies don't have one at all. And
especially SaaS companies, but
yeah, a lot of SaaS companies don't have one at all. And then you have some that have one, and it's very vague generalities and whatever. Okay, but it's really an page. It is the core. It is the center of your brand. I think. I mean, that is so crucial to have, especially in 2025. People are looking. They're trying to find somewhere where they feel trusting of a company anymore. It's the trust factor.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on a previous episode, has diminished. Right? I call it the trust gap. In 2010,
no question.
Actually, before 2010, people were getting on Craigslist and buying stuff from complete strangers on the other side of town. And, it maybe started off okay, but eventually it's resulted in some very unsafe situations. So much so that I don't know about in Toronto, but in our town, they were saying, hey, around here, they were saying, if you're buying somebody, meeting somebody up, and this goes for Facebook Marketplace too, by the way, they were saying you could actually do it the police were saying in our parking lot. There's lights and there's police around.
Or
make it more safe.
Or take somebody with you, especially if you're
Yeah.
female, because that's a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
So, but now, and people now, I will say people will buy at the drop of the hat, even on a phone, but they do it with brands they already trust. So
Yeah.
Amazon, Temu, IKEA, I'm just mentioning the top retailers, people will buy from a brand they trust at the drop of the hat. But if they don't know you, they don't know anything about
Good luck.
you. Yeah. And so there's a trust gap. And so anyway, the about page is really crucial. And like, it's almost like a mission to get people to build an about page or assemble an about page. So I thought, well, maybe I can do a prompt. This will be a good test for me. And so I did the prompt. And in order to do the prompt, to do it the way I do about pages, I had to, it's really not one prompt. It's a modular prompt. So term that they use because you're kind of going through different stages, different steps, right? And
Mhm.
but it turns into a brand page, really, which actually, in fact, one person used it and they actually use it more as an internal branding document. Todd Nielsen, who we've had on the show, he said, "Hey, I just used it it really helped me kind of clarify some stuff. I use an internal brand document." It's like, oh my gosh. So I realized that what I had was more than an about page prompt, right? And
Yeah.
so I started adding some stuff, and I had this old worksheet I did a long time ago, core messaging worksheet or something like that. I called it, and it's based on the 4 to 6 things you really have to know to like really nail your the core of your messaging. And it's like, well, let's start there. So ended up creating a modular prompt for that, um, and added it to the about page or the 6P framework and the about page, which to me is all one thing, but really, if you
Mhm.
take them sequentially, they're actually two things. So I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and put this out. And then I went ahead and added a final prompt to take all that information and summarize it into like an internal branding document.
Yeah.
It's not like what you're going to get from a major marketing consultant, but it's a really good start. If you're sitting there and you got a mess in your head, as I like to say, it's a great place to get started. So that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah. And what I should say is this is a good example of using AI, artificial intelligence, to help you, but you still need the human in the middle of it. So I come
Yeah,
back to this
because it's like a Q&A thing, right? The guide asks you, the human, the user, questions, which you have to answer, and then you will then use that data in the prompts. So absolutely, I mean, it can't be. There's only so much that it can do. The prompt or AI, Chat GPT, whatever you're using, cannot see inside your head unless you've worked with it enough, then it can see inside your head. But that's another that's another issue. But really, once you put that stuff out, it really helps you sort through it, and that's what the
Mhm.
prompt does. And it can help crystallize, like when people start saying, what do you do? Um, so it's a very helpful tool, I think, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's low cost. Mostly to get people to try it. There may be some further movement with this, with some other stuff to go with it, but this was definitely a great start.
So cost wise, what are we talking and where do you get it?
Right now, $27. And you go to the website. I'll share the article with you, but then there's also a landing page, copyflight.com/stack. Um, I priced it low enough that you can. It really doesn't cost much to try it out, and
Yeah.
so it's there. And I'll tell you something. You talk about AI, right? So there's a guy I am learning from other AI masters, and named Jason Parker that I follow. He had this GPT. So it's a chat
Mhm.
AI bot thing that I use to help develop the ideology behind how I framed it. So even then, so it's called, this stack has three parts to it. It's called the clarity sequence, It's called the brand framework, frame method, and the messaging core. And the bot actually made those names for me, including the clarity stack, and framed the messaging for it. It was fantastic. And so you just, like I said, you'll download it, and it's been used with ChatGPT, but I don't see why you couldn't use it with any other AI. In fact, if you buy it and you do, please let me know, because I want to see. I want the feedback, say, hey, I used it with Gemini, it worked great, whatever, or I had this issue, or I used it with Claude, I had this issue, whatever. I would really like to see, hear people's feedback on that, saying it worked fine, or there's an adjustment needs to be made, whatever, to polish it up a little bit if needed. But it should work fine with Chat GPT, the free. You don't need a bot. You don't need a GPT to do it. I will say this, though. When you do this, you need to keep everything in one thread. Don't put up different. Yeah, you keep it all in one thread. So that way, when you go through it, you can come back to the thread. It keeps, as long as you're logged in, you can come back to the same thread. And then the output, of course, at the end, and there will be like summaries as you go about different areas. The output at the end is a assembled about page, which you may need to edit, which is fine. And then an assembled internal brand document that you can store Google Drive or Notion or whatever.
One of the things I'll say, and you kind of hit on those, you might be able to edit. What people need to be careful with AI is AI isn't always 100% accurate. So
The
you got to
good
be
thing about
prepared.
this kind of prompt is you are putting the information in. So it's basically now you might want to check what they say. Did they say what you meant, whatever, that kind of thing. But it's not having to retrieve information elsewhere per se, because you are putting what you think about these particular things in. And these are the kind of prompts I like, because it's user initiated, versus saying, hey, write me an article about the 3 ways to blah blah blah. I don't recommend that use of Chat GPT or any AI, to be honest with you. There are ways to do it. There are ways to generate stuff that far more, but you're right. I mean, all of them can struggle with accuracy. I call them out on it. It's kind of funny, actually. All of them can struggle with accuracy about what they're giving you, and that's why I suggest when you're writing something, if you're using AI for some kind of content, you should be putting the information you want it to give. So that means you have to do the research. Now, I will tell you, I've been frustrated with any particular AI writing tool I've come across, because it basically is output this for me. And that is okay. I go back to how a writer writes, like a content writer. There's always a data dump at the beginning. We may not call it that. We call it research or whatever you want to call it. But it's
Whatever,
a data
same
dump.
thing.
You're going out and you're finding the information to support your argument, whatever. Because you're going to link to it. If you're looking for a study, you're looking for the original source, those kinds of things, quotes, subject matter experts, all that stuff. It's data dump. You can actually, that would be a great use case for AI, in my opinion. Seriously. And so I have yet to see any AI writing tool do that. But really, it's all about going out and finding. They're using the AI to think for you, and that's not the way I would do it. And that's why I've not been happy with the tools that I've come across for writing. But my thing is, if I set all those people doing these tools down, I'd say, look, if you're going to do anything to help writing with AI, work on using AI to help the workflow, not to support the workflow, not write the article. Now, that being said, you can edit. Perplexity is really good at editing. So I'm working on an article now that was hacked down from 4,400 words to about 1,200 words. maybe actually a little bit less than that, Rob. And it kept it can made it more concise and kept the spirit of what I was trying to say. It kept a lot of my words, and I'm actually going back through and post editing for me because I'm adding some stuff back that it cut out. But I'm
Got
sitting
that.
there looking. I basically had a 4,400 word brain dump or data dump. And I'm like, I told Claude, I said, I don't need this to be 4,400 words. I need to be more like 1,200. And
Yeah, I get
it
that.
eliminated stuff. And some of it I want to put back, but not much. I'm like, yeah, you pretty much, this article doesn't need to be 4,400 words. Now, I could take the original 4,400 words and like turn it into an ebook or something like that, and maybe clean it up and make it an ebook. That's fine. But the article on a website doesn't need to be 4,400 words. It needs be
No
about
question.
1,200.
No question.
But
Hey,
anyway,
hey,
I will
Todd.
give you the link to the
Yeah.
the backstory, and then a link to the landing page, and of course, the landing page link is on the backstory blog post as
Yeah.
well.
Hey, Todd, thanks for sharing, talking about the brand clarity stack. Go get it if you need to help your brand. And certainly if you need to build an about page, it'd be a big tool in your toolbox. Thank you, sir. Have a wonderful day.
I'm thinking about when somebody comes to me now on just having them to fill that out, get started as an ongoing deal. So that's how powerful it is, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thanks so much for sharing, as always. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Todd Jones for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.